Well, it's Friday afternoon, and it's a very, very special Friday afternoon. I am here in the town of Hashmonaim by my brother's house, Moshe and Chaya Fold, whose son is getting married this coming week, and we are having a Shabbat Chatan, or an Ofraf, as they would say in Ashkenaz. It's the week before the wedding, and we're having a Shabbat together with all of the family. The entire family is in the house here, and we are going to be celebrating the Shabbat before the wedding. And before I do that, I just wanted to give everyone a small thought about this week's Parshat Naso. And the truth of the matter is, originally it was a little bit difficult to find something here, just because the Parsha itself is a little bit dry in the beginning. It's talking about numbers of the Kohanim, of the priests, and the Leviim, and their jobs in the Mishkan. And it seemed like I was going to have a little bit of trouble finding something important to talk about this week's Parsha. But as I dug deeper, and I was reading one of Rav Nevensal's books, I came up with a small idea where basically I could use that we can learn from this week's Parsha. I'm just going to wait for a couple more people to sign. Let's see who's in the house meanwhile. So, here we go. Deborah Jones in the house. How are you, Deborah? Nice to have you here. Who else is in? I invite some of the people who are here. So they don't tell me that I don't invite them to my live updates here. If you're in the house, feel free to say hello. And we're going to get some of the people in America who are waking up now. Good morning, America, by the way. And we're going to talk a little bit about the status of holiness. What does it mean? And does Judaism believe that we have to separate from this world in order to be holy? So give me just 2 seconds and we're going to get moving. Shalom, Deborah. We're going to wait for a couple of more people to get in here and see who we can get in the house before we start. If you are signing in, don't forget to say hello. Let's see who's signing in here. Tell me who you are and where you're from. And we're going to get started in 2 seconds. All right. So this week's Parshat Naso talks a lot about the priests and the Levites whose job was in the Mishkan. They didn't even have inheritance in the land. And it talks about their numbers in detail, and it talks about their jobs. And all of a sudden, the Parsha goes to a place which seems a little bit strange. We're talking about holiness. And it goes to the issues of a man who suspects his wife. And they go through a whole process of coming to the Kohanim. And after that, it talks about Nazir. I'm not really sure how to translate the word Nazir in English, but I guess you can call it a monk in Hebrew, in English. A Nazir is someone who prohibits himself. Thanks to Avigdor, I will talk about that in a second. A Nazir is someone who prohibits things that are basically permitted to you in this world, and he prohibits them himself. And there are two kinds of holiness. I don't like that word so much. Separation that we see in this week's parsha. One is the Kohanim and the Leviim. They're in one category of the children of the Levite tribe, Shevet Levi. The sons of Aaron are Kohanim, the sons of Moshe Rabbeinu are the Leviim. So those are one type of Kedusha that's in the house. And then another type of Kedusha is called the Nazir, which really in loose English would be called the monk. And the question is the following. When it comes, Deborah, that's nice, but you know I'm Jewish, so that's not really my leader. But when it comes to Kohanim and Leviim, so that status is inborn. In other words, they're born to the tribe of Levi, they're born from Moshe Rabbeinu's descendants or from Aaron a Kohen, and they are therefore either Kohanim or Leviim. And they seem to be in a higher status, a higher level than the rest of us. And the question is, number one, is that fair? Why should a person who's born to a special family, without earning it, be on a higher spiritual level than me? That's number one. But the second spirituality, the holy level, belongs to this Nazir. And the Nazir is hate. And everybody becomes impure in their lives. And the idea is that at a certain point, we have to figure out how to become pure again from that impurity. But for instance, going to somebody's funeral is actually a commandment. It's called Chesed Shel Emet. It's the ultimate level of kindness. And these Nazirim, these monks, are no longer allowed to become impure. So it's self-inflicted kind of like spirituality. And when it comes to Kohanim, I can't do anything about it. Shabbat Shalom Aliza. Kohanim, I wasn't born to the family, I can't reach his level. When it comes to a Nazir, though, I can do that. The question is, does the Torah want me to do that? Does the Torah want me to separate myself from the rest of the world? And is that considered a higher level of holiness? Or am I still live within the world? So according to what we see in the Parshat, the Nazir is putting up on a pedestal, on a spiritual pedestal. And so, by the way, everyone here, give a share to the video. Let's get some more people in here. So the question is, should I, as a Jew, should I look up and say, I want to become a Nazir? Should I want that at all? Well, the interesting thing is, while the Nazir is put up on a pedestal, a holy pedestal, let's call it, at the same time, when the whole ordeal is over, when his Nazirut, when his time when he was made himself a Nazir is over, Eliza, thank you for sharing. When his time of Nazir is over, he has to give a sin offering. And the question is, if the Nazir is on a spiritual high, if he's a holy person, why does he have to give a sin offering? In other words, sin offering is someone who did something wrong. And if a Nazir is on a higher spiritual level, then what did he do wrong? Now I want to look at two examples of when it comes to Kohanim and when it comes to Nazirim. So Kohanim, if we're talking about Kohanim, are the birth line from Aaron, a Kohen, from Aaron the high priest. So his two first sons, Nadav and Avihu, right? Those are literally the next generation. In other words, it's not like someone who's a tzaddik, right? Someone who's a righteous person. That's not given from father to son. But kahuna, priests, are given from father to son. So Aaron's two sons, Nadav and Avihu, his two sons, the future of the priesthood, they die. And how do they die? They die inside their tabernacle. They die by the fire of God. They die by inside the spirituality, the holiness of the temple, and the holiness of the tabernacle. That's where they die. So wait a second. If they were on such a high spiritual level, how did that happen? How did they so messed up? Let's go.
We would like everybody down for pictures. Everybody please come down for pictures now.
All right, so you wanted to know about that. My brother's son is getting married this week, so they want to take pictures before Shabbat, so I have to go soon. Victor, thanks for sharing. So they messed up, and if they're on such a spiritual level, how did they do that? I mean, I barely went to Har HaBayit today, Temple Mount today, scared of the holiness there. They messed up when they got away from their father. So what happened to that level of spirituality? That's one. Number two, when it comes to Nazir, this person who prohibits himself, things that are permitted to him in life. Well, who's the most famous Nazir in Judaism? Who is the famous Nazir who is also a shofet, a judge? The most famous Nazir was Shimshon, Samson. And he was not even a Nazir on his own infliction. His parents made him a Nazir. Good afternoon, Ari. Before he was born, so he was holy on a spiritual level before he was born. Right? And Shimshon, Samson, the man had two jobs. One is to judge the nation of Israel, and two is to take care of the Plishtim, the Philistines. This spiritual man who was a Nazir reached that level of spirituality before he was born. How does he fail? He marries one of the women of the people he's supposed to destroy. Well, what happened to that holiness? What happened to that spirituality? And should I yearn to go to that spiritual? Should I become a Nazir? So I think that the Torah is telling us, yes, he created himself things, but he has to give a korban chatat, he has to give a sin offering. Because God, according to Judaism, does not want us to live in caves. Does not want us to be separate from the world. He wants to use the world to make a blessing on the wine. We do it every Shabbat. We make blessings on the wine. It's not to separate yourself from the world. Yes, you're supposed to bring up the world to spirituality. You're supposed to bring up the world and say, okay, I'm going to bring the world up to a spiritual level. But you're not supposed to close yourself to the world. And so, therefore, the Nazir, even though he's separating himself from this world, when they put, no, the Nazir is a tool. When does a Nazir become a Nazir? A Nazir becomes a Nazir, according to Rashi, when he sees what happens to people who are not behaving between man and wife, between husband and wife, and the way they're supposed to be behaving. Therefore, he says, okay, that's it. It happened because of wine. I'm not drinking wine anymore. It was an emotional reaction. So, yeah, he has to be careful. And that emotional reaction for him is good, but not for the rest of us. No. God created the world for us to use the world, and therefore the Nazir itself is not looked upon as, oh, that's what I want to do. If you have to do that, then you should do it. But we don't look up to that. We say, no, you're supposed to live in this world. When it comes to the Kohen, he's not on a higher spiritual level unless he has responsibilities. He's not on any higher level. We see that they sinned. We see that they were killed by their sin. It's tools on how to live a spiritual life. The ultimate goal of Judaism, the ultimate goal is to live life the way it's supposed to be lived according to the Torah in this world. You're supposed to eat. You're supposed to drink wine. He's going to make a blessing on the wine. And of course you're supposed to go to funerals and do kindness to people who died. That's the goal of Judaism. The Nazir and the Kohen, yeah, they're put on that level. But it's responsibility. It's something that we should look forward to being. You're not supposed to be a Nazir. You're supposed to live life according to Torah. And we're not supposed to be separate from the world. We're supposed to be in the world. And we're Kadesh et Achol, to sanctify the mundane. So that, I think, is the message of this week's parsha, and why the Nazir, we don't believe in monks in Judaism. We don't believe in living in caves. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai did that, and he lost the argument. People did not succeed in his way of life. We're supposed to live life, the tools that God gave us. Eat, drink, make blessings on the food, sanctify what we do in this world. You're working with a doctor, lawyer, whatever it is, be honest. Sanctify everything we do in this world. Don't separate yourself from the world. Be a holy person within the world. That is why God gave us the world. And again, like my grandmother always said on the Holocaust, after surviving, people asked, where was God on the Holocaust? My grandmother says, no, where was man on the Holocaust? Don't yell at God. He gave you the tools to be perfect. We mess it up. From the beginning of time, put us in Gan Eden, we messed it up. So let's look forward and be motivated to live in this world the way we're supposed to live with the tools that God gave us. Don't shut out the world. Live in this world. Sanctify the world. Tell the truth. Let people understand the truth. And at the end of the day, that is the way to become a righteous person in this world. Well, I'm signing off, people. Thanks for listening. Got to get to the family. I am putting up the link here for everybody to help me out with the soldiers. Right there, we're going out to soldiers daily and cooling them down with some ice cream, cold drinks, and all kinds of stuff. So hit that link. Share the video, please, without there. That's right. Another cannot fulfill the mitzvah. That's true. Share the video out. Let people know a little bit about this week's parsha. Signing off from beautiful Cheshmonaim in the beautiful land of Israel. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Share